I am Captain Jin Uzuki.
See you around, Rubido.
I already told you I'm Guinan Jr. now! Get that through your thick head!
Chapter 33, Momo's Analysis. We make a quick cut to Sellers, who tells Margulis that he had the Pleroma destroyed for reasons. That's honestly the only reason to mention this scene. Back to Shion. The next day, Chaos and Shion get ready to go to the UMN Control Center. Shion, who has changed from her Vector uniform, tells Chaos that she won't be saying goodbye to her brother, and she's sorry for not being able to be there for Momo's analysis, as she's concerned about leaving all the Cosmos work to Alan. So, here, Chaos and Shion split up yet again. We cut to the UMN Control Center, where Junior, Guinan, Momo, and Ziggy are with Julie Mizrahi. Once she finally shows up, Momo is visibly happy as she calls out to her. Julie thanks Ziggy for his effort in the Proto-Merkaba incident, and Ziggy turns Julie's attention to Momo by telling her that they couldn't have done it without Momo. Julie gives Momo a very cold and to-the-point thank you, but even this short interaction makes Momo so happy that she runs over to her, but Julie simply walks around her and continues talking to Junior.
I'd like to organize the data. If you could prepare a room for me, I'd appreciate it.
This interaction doesn't get past Junior, and he becomes frustrated with Julie since he knows how much Momo wants Julie to treat her as a daughter. However, Julie surprises everyone when she tells Momo,
Once things settle down, it'll be nice if we can live together.
Momo is overjoyed with this idea, and when Julie and Junior walk away, Ziggy congratulates Momo. Junior isn't buying it though. When Julie and him are alone, he asks her why she was suddenly so nice to Momo. Julie tells him that she knows Momo was programmed to be stimulated by familial warmth. So in order to ensure that Momo is mentally healthy, she essentially just told her what she wants to hear. In other words, she probably didn't mean it. Making me wonder what she was planning on doing afterwards. Junior is disappointed but not surprised. He tells her that pretending to be emotionless is only going to end up hurting her in the end. He also tells her about the promise he made that he made to Sakura, Julie's dead daughter. The daughter that Momo was modeled to look like. He promised her that he would look after Momo and Julie. So he says that he's going to treat Momo like a real girl. The mention of Sakura breaks her emotionless facade, and she becomes visibly sad. When Chaos steps into the room, Julie quietly walks out without replying to Junior. Julie then heads over to Ziggy, who is getting some maintenance by request of Momo. Momo really cares about her goat, man. Ziggy begins to say that he would prefer someone else did his maintenance, as he's still embarrassed by his pup body, as he stated in the previous game. But Julie tells him not to let it bother him since she's not a young woman, which, I mean, okay. Ziggy asks Julie why she has such difficulty talking to Momo, and we finally get to see why she's so cold. She's not really such a bitch. She just has a hard time loving something that looks so much like her dead daughter but isn't her dead daughter. Thanks to the mass-produced 100 Realians, Julie is constantly reminded of her daughter's death, and Momo, who looks even more like Sakura than the typical 100 series of original Realians, is just a cherry on top since she actually acts like Julie is her mother. When Julie asks Ziggy if he has any children, he speaks about Joaquin Rosas, the child he adopted through marriage back during Pied Piper 100 years ago, and who Voyager killed. Julie says that perhaps he should have committed suicide when Sakura died, just like Ziggy did when his family died. Ziggy gives Julie an idea to try to find a middle ground that could make both her and Momo happy. He tells her,
Why don't you imagine you had 2 daughters?
What do you mean?
One that passed away and one that's still alive.
So you think I should start treating Momo like another daughter, instead of merely a copy of Sakura? You sure know how to pose a difficult challenge.
While not entirely sure if she's going to do it, the idea does seem to bring a smile to her face. After Julie leaves, Ziggy tells Junior, who thinks he's being sneaky and is eavesdropping again, that he can come in now. Junior tells him that he is full of surprises, probably because he didn't expect Ziggy to have such an emotional side, but Ziggy pretends like he doesn't understand what he's saying. Then they all head over to Momo's analysis. As Momo prepares for her analysis, she is lifted up while everyone else watches from a different room. Everyone but Mary, who is running the analysis next to Momo, and Ziggy, who is, I guess, there for emotional support. Right before the analysis begins, a 100 series Realian warns her that during her analysis, her artificial personality layer will be shut down, which will make her artificial emotions cease function, as her artificial personality is just an option for interpersonal interaction. Which is probably the worst thing to say to something or someone who struggles with whether or not they're actually a living thing.
My heart is just an optional function.
Momo,
Personality sleep mode activated. Shutting down.
Once Momo falls asleep, the analysis begins. It seems they're having a hard time getting to the data that they need to analyze, as the protection in her is very complex, and some of her routes were damaged during Albedo's hack. The idea of shutting down Momo's personality layer makes Mary feel like they're doing something horrible to Momo. It reminds her of when she and Shelly were guinea pigs for pharmaceutical companies and how they kept them drugged up, which made them feel empty inside. Junior walks out as he can't stand to see Momo in this condition. After some time, they finally manage to decrypt the final barrier in Momo's subconscious, and the moment they do this, Momo's eyes begin to shake as she says,
Duh! Electronic pulse signal is rejected. Brainwave frequency
Momo,
is increasing.
what is it? What are you trying to say?
Continuing approach to barrier 15.
It's
Executing rescan.
Crap!
but it's too late. An alarm sounds as all the 100 series in the room fall over. Something is accessing Momo from the outside, and although they try an emergency cutoff, it is refused. A terminal in Momo is open to the UMN network. Put simply, Momo has a worm computer virus. Negredo immediately knows who caused this.
There's a self-expanding trap in there. This isn't one of Joachim's designs. Something recent. Probably planted during the intrusion at the Song of Nephilim.
This is Albedo's work.
Julie decides that desperate times, desperate measures. Knowing that they can't allow the UTIC to obtain the Y data, she begins the process to destroy all the data inside Momo. All of it. She's essentially planning on killing Momo. Worried, Ziggy asks her what she's doing,
What are you doing, Dr. Misrahi?
and when she tells him, he tells her to stop, making her think more clearly and hesitate.
Dr. Misrahi!
This hesitation is enough time for Momo to decide her own countermeasure. Momo, in order to stop the hack attempt, cuts her own neural pathways to disperse her memory. So her memory is still there, it just can't be reached. And then...
What?
Links to the network are being cut off.
Momo!
The 100 series prototype has shut down!
Momo!
Albedo hacks the computers to allow him to speak to the group. He honestly does this for the sole reason of antagonizing them. He achieves nothing with this call. As he ends the call, we see Julie trying to resuscitate Momo, actually seeming worried about her. All of this gives Ziggy flashbacks of the day his family died, and he sees the bloody puddle they left behind along with Voyager. As Mary gets some medical supplies, Julie says,
This time, I will save her. I swear it.
Chapter 34, Momo's Subconscious. We see Xian and Alan getting the news of what happened to Momo from Helmer and Junior. While Momo's basic functions have recovered, she's unconscious. Needing the expertise of Vector, Helmer recruits Xian and Alan to help in recovering the Y data from Momo's subconscious and, even though he didn't mention it, saving Momo. Xian, of course, accepts. Meanwhile, discord brews in the Federation Parliament as the immigrant fleet is trying to get permission to deploy their fleet to Second Miltia. Patriarch Sergius tries to talk diplomatically, saying that all of humanity lost a great treasure when old Miltia disappeared. A treasure which belonged to all of humanity, and the immigrant fleet were merely its caretakers. He is, of course, talking about the Zohar. A Parliament member of the Federation is, however, suspicious of his intentions, suspecting that the immigrant fleet is just trying to monopolize on the Zohar. Accusations of trying to control the Zohar go back and forth between the Federation and Patriarch Sergius until they finally ask about Helmer's whereabouts, as he is the representative of Second Miltia. Helmer is scouting out Jin in order to recruit him for a mission. He wants to try to decrypt the data that Jin gave to Kanan. He seems to be tired of all the mistrust and wants a clear answer to who their enemy is. These answers lie in the data that Jin gave to Kanan. Knowing that getting back this data will require going back to old Miltia, Jin accepts this mission. Later, the group gathers into the UMN Control Center to dive into Momo's subconscious, with Alan serving as the operator in the real world, as usual. Alan also has the idea of sending Cosmos' data to the dive in order to make Xian feel at ease, which seems to work. Alan tells them that their dive is into Momo's subconscious domain, which is modeled after Sakura's memories, and that just like when they dove into Cosmos' subconscious domain, there might be some playback of memories with those whom Sakura has shared time and space with. In this case, that would be Junior, and Junior gives him the background about him, Sakura, and the URTVs. Ziggy asks him what UDU is. Junior tells him that UDU stands for Unus Mundus Drive Operation System, so technically his name should be Udos? The reason for this name is that they wanted people to believe that UDU was some kind of UMN artificial intelligence gone awry that carries dangerous waves, but in reality, as Xian states, something as simple as a man-made AI couldn't have created a space-time anomaly like UDU has. After having a flashback of the Miltian conflict when UDU infected the URTVs, Junior explains that UDU is an energy form from another dimension that humans can't possibly control. I don't know how he got all this deep lore on UDU. Anyways, Alan finishes constructing the Encephalon after Xian compliments Alan by telling the group that they're in good hands, which seems to make Alan happy. Xian and the rest begin their dive into Momo's subconscious. Their first stop is Sakura's inner world, the little house Sakura constructed in her mind where she first met Rubido, Albedo, and Negredo. There, they see Momo sitting on a swing. She can function but is essentially catatonic as her personality layer is still turned off and her brain is fragmented. It makes sense, but to be honest, this is an excuse for the game to let you continue using her abilities, which is good because she is a monster in this game. She is OP as hell in Xenosaga 2. They continue into the house and then see the scene where the 3 URTV variants meet Sakura. No need to go over this again. A lot of this section is stuff I have already gone over, as the whole purpose of the section is to give the URTVs backstories, which I've already gone over. So, after Rubido tells Julie that's what Sakura told him, after Sakura plays the piano, Sakura kisses Rubido, Albedo acts Yazo Sakura, then meets the screen, Albedo shit talks the standard URTVs and beats them up. We finally get to the scene where Albedo realizes that he is the only URTV who can't die. There, they follow Albedo to a forest area where Albedo was practicing making graves for Rubido and Negredo, getting himself ready to deal with their deaths. Junior tells the rest of the group that ever since Albedo learned he couldn't die, he started to change, but Junior and Negredo just couldn't understand him, as they couldn't understand what it was like to have a body that can't die. Ziggy, who himself has been robbed of his death, says that Death is rest for the soul.
Who was it? Who said that? If the body did not die, and the fears born in the mind just continue to pile up, the world would be nothing more than an eternal prison.
Oh, man.
Clearly, Ziggy understands Albedo's pain. After Rubido explains to the group that both him and Albedo were conjoined twins, the story continues to the point where they dive back into Sakura's subconscious, and I'm not really sure what to make out of the scene. Rubido from the past tries to get Sakura to come with him, but she seems scared. She points to his shadow, and we see that it looks like some kind of demon. Albedo then starts mocking him, saying that Rubido is a monster just like him. Albedo talks and looks like he's already infected by Uru though, which he shouldn't be since this is before the Milshin conflict. Also, Sakura asks him to calm down and not get angry, as if she knows about his Red Dragon mode, which I doubt she does. Then Albedo's voice changes to his older Albedo's voice, and Sakura tells Rubido that it's a trap, but we can see that it's actually Momo saying this. This all seems pretty clear. Albedo has hacked the Encephalon, and Encephalon is mixing Momo's subconscious with things Albedo is doing. I just don't know exactly where the flashbacks end and the present things done by Albedo begin, which is why I didn't mention this scene when doing Rubido's backstory. Anyways, Albedo manages to trigger Rubido's anger, which set off a trap inside Momo set by Albedo. Albedo expected them to dive into Momo's subconscious, and I'm guessing that since him and Rubido are linked, plus his memories can resonate with Sakura's memory, since they also shared space and time, Albedo used Junior as a backdoor to Momo's subconscious. Albedo appears behind Junior and grabs him, being his weird self.
Such a sweet smell, Rubido. The smell of rage evaporating off your body. Sure you don't suffer from excessive norepinephrine?
Albedo continues to antagonize Junior, and despite everyone wanting him to calm down, he starts losing control of his powers, which he uses to get Albedo off of him. No, we're not going to talk about Albedo putting his hand through Rubido. I'm just going to sum it up to it's an Encephalon dive, so it doesn't matter. Anyways, they start to battle with Albedo, and after a long boss fight, the fight ends. Although nobody wins, because, of course, it's Albedo. How do you even win? After this, Junior begins to lose control of himself again. He's trying to control his emotions like Ziggy taught him to, but Junior is, after all, a biological weapon. Combat is in his DNA, so he begins to lose control. Momo, who is witnessing this, manages to break out of her restrictions and turns on her own personality layer, along with reconstructing her own neural pathways, all to try to stop Junior. But this only plays into Albedo's hand. You see, in the game Overwatch, there are maps where you have to control a certain point for a certain amount of time. As you control it, it fills up a gauge from 0 to 100%. After you get the gauge to 100%, you win. However, if the gauge is at 99%, but there is an enemy on the point you have to control, you will go into overtime, and the gauge will stay at 99% until there are no more enemies on the point. This is to allow the losing team one more chance to get back the point. As long as there is an opposing player on the point, the game will stay in overtime. I hope you understood that, because this is essentially what just happened. Albedo was at 99% of hacking Momo, but Momo cut off her neural pathways in order to keep the game in overtime. But the moment she recovered her neural pathways, 99 turned into 100, and Albedo's hack of the Y data was complete. So this whole ordeal was yet another trap by Albedo, as the Y data flows out of Momo into probably Albedo's ES Simian. All the group can do is look in confusion as they have no idea what just happened. And then when it's all over, Momo wakes up in the real world and everyone exits the Encephalon dive. When they do, Julie approaches them and tells them that the Y data is now in enemy hands. We see Albedo looking through the complete Y data, and then he releases the seal on Old Milsha. Then he disintegrates? This is later explained by the Red Testament to be Albedo ascending, but I'm not even sure what that means exactly. This ascension has an effect on Junior, as he can feel what he calls his right chest fading. In other words, he feels Albedo's heartbeat fading.
This pain, it's Albedo's. His heartbeat is fading. It can't be Albedo.
Chapter 35, Regrouping. As Xian narrates, we see the lost path to Old Milsha reopening. In response, both the Federation government and the immigrant fleet began sending ships to Milshan space. Both of them wanting control over the original Zohar, which, yes, it's still on Milsha, and yes, it's still under the control of the Zohar link system with Cecily and Kath. Which is why Uru hasn't been up to any shenanigans, because the Zohar link system has been keeping him subdued. However, the immigrant fleet was expecting all of this to happen, so they were able to react more appropriately, and they managed to defeat the Federation troops and send troops into Old Milsha. Xian and Alan returned to the Damarang because of orders they received. Helmer dispatches 2nd Milshan forces to support the Federation. Behind their backs, he also plans an undercover operation to obtain the Zohar. This operation is supported by the Contact Subcommittee and Vector, and is carried out by the Kukai Foundation. So Junior and his crew, along with Kanan and Jin, prepare to descend into Old Milsha. Momo is also recruited as her 100 series observational series skills could lead them to Old Milsha undetected. Before beginning the mission, we see Julie speaking to Momo alone. She actually seems concerned for her, as she tells her that the mission will be dangerous, but she can't risk the entire star cluster over her personal feelings, meaning she cares. She even notices this as she says,
It feels strange to me now. For some reason, I don't want to let you go.
She mentions how Ziggy was right about her having two different daughters, as Sakura was a carefree tomboy, while Momo is more of a thoughtful, dependable girl. Realizing that she wants to get to know Momo better, Julie tells Momo to make sure to come back safely. Back in the Damarang, Xian is seen speaking with Miyuki, who, despite everything happening, still seems as peppy as ever. Xian, however, seems irritated with her pep, as she's concerned about what's happening and is frustrated that she has to just sit around doing nothing. Suddenly, Nephilim appears behind Xian and just disappears again. Thanks, Nephilim. Xian notes that Nephilim looked sad, but aside from that, all she can do is find Alan for some sleeping pills to help her sleep. This area shows off just how big the Damarang is. Look at this crap. Those are skyscrapers and highways. We're not on a planet. We're on the Damarang. There are skyscrapers and highways inside the spaceship. Anyways, Xian finds Alan, gets the pills, and goes to bed. While Xian sleeps, she has a dream of the area where the Zohar link system is, so the place where the Zohar and Cecily and Kath are. There, she sees Febronia. Xian asks her where they are and why she's there. Febronia tells Xian that this is where her sisters are being held captive. When Xian tells her that she doesn't see them, Feb simply asks her to set her sisters free. Xian is confused again.
I don't understand any of this.
As she doesn't know where this place even is. Feb simply tells her that she will visit this place soon, and as she leaves, she asks her once again to free her sisters. When Xian wakes up, she remembers that she's supposed to send some Cosmos data to her boss. While she does this, Nephilim appears behind her again. Xian asks what exactly it is that her and Feb are trying to tell her, but all Nephilim says is that Feb is waiting for her, and that she must go to the place where she saw in her dream. You know, the one that Xian doesn't know the location of. She tells Xian that when she gets there, she will have to make an important choice. But Xian is still confused. To be fair, Nephilim's cryptic ass doesn't help. And Nephilim simply says that the path has already been opened. This makes Xian realize that the place she's supposed to go to is Milsha. Why didn't they say that? After Nephilim asks Xian to save Feb's sister, again, Xian hears Alan calling her from outside her room. When he enters, Xian tells him that she has to go to Old Milsha. Something which Alan finds pretty crazy as they're on high security alert with a war about to start. But Xian is undeterred, even knowing what she's going to use as a transport. Remember the flashback she had at the beginning of the game where Kevin showed her a transport made for Cosmos? Yeah, this is why it was semi-important. That's what she's going to use, which will be useful as she needs permission from the UMN control center to use the UMN columns, and that ship can enter hyperspace without a UMN column. Alan still tries to stop her, but she ignores him and walks off, and Alan, hesitantly, follows her to make sure she stays safe. Xian and Alan make their way through the Dameron, evading and confronting security systems along the way. Then, finally, they find the ship they were looking for, but they're spotted by some combat realians. Alan uses the ship's guns to scare them off, impressing Xian. Then Xian activates the ship and leaves the Dameron, something which Wilhelm witnesses and was completely okay with. Almost like he expected it would happen, or hoped it would. As Xian and Alan approach Milsha, they are ambushed by hundreds of small drones, and with it, Voyager, the Black Testament, inside his giant ES dam. The ES itself is actually normal size, but it has giant wings. He begins to attack Xian along with the drones that he controls, pulling off some crazy maneuvers. The drones manage to hit Xian's ship, making it lose its shielding. As Voyager prepares for an attack, with her shielding down, Xian can do nothing but scream, which was apparently all she needed to do, because whenever Xian is in mortal danger, you can always expect to see her guardian angel. Cosmos detects Xian's distress way back in Second Milsha, and just like she did in the Woglinde, she activates herself to save her, this time sporting a new look, thanks to the work done on her in Second Milsha. This is what we call Cosmos V2. Apparently, her pod got some modifications too, because it can now turn into a motorcycle of sorts. When the director asks Cosmos where she's going, Cosmos just tells them,
Xian is calling me.
Then Cosmos lifts into space with her new vehicle. Back to Xian, we see her and Alan continuing to avoid Voyager and his drones. Well, more like Xian is avoiding Voyager and his drones while Alan freaks out. Then Cosmos shows up and destroys the drones. She tells Xian that she is switching her craft to control mode B and to prepare for docking. What does she mean by docking? Well, yep, this is one of the reasons this ship was made for Cosmos. It can merge with her pod bike thing to form yet another ES. This one being ES Dina, one of my favorite ESs. Anyways, Cosmos enters her blue-eyed form and fires a giant beam of Voyager, which destroys his drones and makes them retreat. Not sure why it was necessary to be in the blue-eyed mode for this. Maybe it was to power the laser? I don't know. Maybe it's just an automatic response when Xian is in danger. Also, Voyager did not run away in fear. The reason he left was most likely because the whole reason for the attack was to awaken Cosmos. Mission accomplished. After all this, Captain Matthews contacts her and he gates in from a UMN column to pick her up. While on the Elsa, Cosmos warns Matthews that if they continue on their course, their enemy will most likely leave forces behind to intercept them, which will make the Elsa suffer too much damage. Because of this, Momo tells them that she's detected a small gravity gap between the two black holes of the abyss, which will help them fly through undetected. Both Matthews and Xian seem hesitant about this, as even the smallest mistake in course would have them dragged into one of the black holes, but Tony's up for the challenge, so they go with Momo's idea.
Here, there's no way Tony numero uno is gonna turn down a challenge like that.
There he goes again. Once that moron gets started, there's no stopping him.
Whatever. Do what you want. But you'd better not even think about getting a scratch on my Elsa.
Don't worry. Leave it to me. Momo, I'll be counting on you for a route.
Okay,